how to sell art for high prices. That's what we're going to look at in this video. Welcome back to my channel. If we haven't met before, my name is Michelle, and on this channel you'll find painting and drawing, particularly watercolour, but also some mixed media stuff, as well as art, social media and online selling for artists. Now, after I've talked about 2 reasons why people aren't currently paying more for your artwork, I'm going to give you 10 tips that are going to enable you to find those buyers with a bit more money and sell in those places where you're going to get more money for your artwork, so do keep watching for that. So let's look at the first reason why people aren't paying more money for your artwork currently, and I'm going to be really harsh with you here. It could be the quality of the artwork. So there's no two ways about it. If your artwork is not of a high enough quality, or not even just the artwork, but if the presentation of your artwork and the marketing for your artwork is not of a high enough quality, then that will put off buyers with more money. So if you are suspecting that this may be the case for you, and I am absolutely not here to disparage you or to put you off at all, it's just a stage in your journey. If your artwork isn't currently of a good enough quality, or you suspect it might not be, to attract those buyers that will pay high prices, then I've got a great video for you that I made recently, so I'll link to it in the information card up above, and it's going to help you to really improve the quality of your artwork very, very fast. And it's also going to give you some tips about how to accurately assess the place that your artwork is in now and how good or how bad it is currently. So do have a watch of that. If you click on that card, you won't go away from this video, it'll just line it up for you to watch next. So the first thing to consider when you're wondering why people aren't currently paying more for your artwork is to consider the quality of the artwork, or the quality of the presentation of the artwork. Now at this stage, some of you might be saying, well, I know my artwork's good because people buy it. But I'm afraid I really am here to disillusion you on this. I've been running art events and art fairs. I've been curating exhibitions and taking part in them for decades. And let me tell you, I've seen some appalling work sold. If the price is low enough, eventually all work will have, all artists will get some buyers at least. So just the fact that 1 or 2 people have bought your artwork isn't really an indication of quality if the artwork is priced low. I mean, I have even seen people walk into exhibitions and buy work that is framed so badly that the the picture isn't straight in the mount and the back's hanging off. I mean, it is amazing what people will part with a small amount of money for. So just because you're selling work isn't an indication of quality. So do have a look at that video I recommended to you. It'll give you a much better idea of how good or how bad your work is currently. So the second reason why you might not currently be able to sell your work at a high value, and it's really the main subject of the rest of this video, so I'll be brief when I speak about it now. The main reason is that you're just selling to the wrong people. The people that you are selling artwork to are not your target market, and they're not the right people to be buying your artwork. That's what we're going to look at now. So I'm going to give you 10 tips now of how to find the right people to buy your art. So the first tip I have for you is just to understand that art is a luxury item. It's a luxury market, and you are looking for buyers with significant disposable income. Now, I used to joke when I first started working as an artist, I always used to joke that I couldn't afford to buy my own artwork, except it wasn't really a joke because I was a single parent and I just started out. I didn't have any money. I was living on social security benefits, and I had a toss up really of, do I feed my daughter or do I pay the electric bill? I wasn't going to buy original art, that would be crazy. So the first thing to understand is that you shouldn't be looking at the bottom end of the market. You cannot and should not try to compete with mass-produced items. It's just a race to the bottom, and it's a race that you'll lose every time. So that's my first tip for you, is to understand that art is a luxury item. So the second tip to realise is that you are not a charity. Now, it's not your job to bring art to people that can't afford it, and this only happens really within the arts. And within the arts, I mean, also writers, musicians, people like that. They're always trying to put upon us because it's very hard to set a price on how much a piece of art is worth. So everybody thinks they're entitled to a huge discount or a huge bargain, but it really isn't your job to bring art to people that can't afford it. Now, I currently drive a Skoda Citigo. It's lovely, it's bright green, it's got about as much power as my sewing machine. I can just about get it in 5th gear if I go downhill. Now maybe I'd prefer to drive a super fast Mercedes, so perhaps I should go to my local car dealer and ask for a huge discount, because I can't afford a Mercedes. So maybe I'll go in there and I'll pick a £50,000 car and I'll ask him if he could sell it to me for £6,000. Now he's going to say to me, don't be ridiculous, I can't even make a profit at that money, you know, I'm paying myself less than minimum wage and I'd actually be losing money on this item. But as artists, we kind of feel like we're obliged to sell art. You know, people give us all kind of hard luck stories, but art is not bread and nobody needs it to survive. It isn't your job to give art to people that can't afford art. There's loads and loads of free art in the world. There's loads of museums that you can get into and look at beautiful art. You know, there's loads of shops selling reproduction posters. There's no shortage of art for people that can't afford originals. So, you know, it isn't your job. And you shouldn't feel guilty about asking for a proper price. This is not to say that you shouldn't sometimes perhaps donate a painting to a charity sale, or use your artwork to raise money, or donate your personal money to charity. It's great to do stuff for charity, but it shouldn't be every single piece of art you produce. You know, it just don't do it. Just put a value on your time. You wouldn't get a plumber come round to your house and ask him if you wouldn't mind working for 1/10 of what he was going to charge you. You just wouldn't do it, so don't allow people to do it to you. So tip number 3 is to look outside your own experience and your own location. Now, if you are currently not that wealthy, not that well off, it can be really hard for you to imagine that, you know, for some people buying a £500 painting or a $500 painting means as little to them as you and I treating ourselves to a cup of hot chocolate in the local cafe. You know, it really isn't a big deal to people that have got a lot of money. They're quite prepared to spend money on this. So it's a matter of kind of putting yourself outside of your own experience. And that's particularly the case if you live in a part of the world where everybody is quite hard up for cash. You know, if you live in an area where everybody is just, you know, concerned about putting food on the table and keeping a roof over their heads, then understandably they are not going to have the money for buying original art. And if you yourself live in such a place where nobody has the money to spend a lot of money on original art or original crafts, then the simple answer is to get yourself good at selling online and to connect with those buyers who don't live locally to you. And buyers can really surprise you sometimes. I mean, I was not expecting to sell a painting that I made of a little Cornish harbour. That's Cornwall is south of England. I was not expecting to sell that painting to a lady who lived in a flat in Moscow, and yet I did, and she paid the money and I shipped it over there. So try not to make assumptions about who your buyers are and where they are too much. You know, try to look outside of your own experience, of your own family and your own location, because people with money do exist. There's lots of them, and most of them are perfectly happy to pay for good quality art. So tip number 4 is to avoid really, really cheap places to sell your art. So this is places where the buyers are always expecting to pay low prices. So in England we have something called boot sales. I think a boot in America would be called a trunk of your car, and everybody goes, parks on a big field, and buyers come around and people sell mostly second-hand household items. Now that would not be a good place to sell original art. Also, some of the markets that we have in the centre of town here, they can sell a lot of cheap mass-produced stuff and very cheap second-hand stuff, so they again would not be a good place. So you can sell in really nice craft fairs, you can sell in galleries and art exhibitions, but you shouldn't be looking to sell in those really, really cheap low-end places, and that would include places online. So for instance, you know, it is possible to sell art on eBay at very low prices, but nobody really sells high-end art on eBay. The exception to that rule is artwork that is being resold second-hand by known artists. So there is a market for that on eBay. But generally speaking, if you're a fine artist, and I have experimented with this myself, people on eBay are not willing to pay a decent price. So wherever you choose to sell, online or offline, you want to be going somewhere where you know that people are already expecting to pay a reasonable price. So tip number 5 is don't display your artwork in a haphazard manner alongside lots of other things. So whether this is online or offline, if you have oil paintings, you don't want to be displaying the fact that you also crochet dog toys. Nothing wrong with crocheted dog toys. Make them if you want, sell them in a different place to your oil paintings, because it really makes everything look a bit like a jumble sale or a thrift store if you have everything jumbled together like that. So let your buyers think that you are a serious artist or a serious artisan crafter, and display everything in a cohesive manner. So tip number 6 for finding better buyers is to exhibit alongside better artists and better craftspeople. And one of the best ways of doing this is to join a club or a society. So you can join an art society, or you can join a high-end craft society, and you will instantly have access to better exhibiting venues, more opportunity to sell your work to serious buyers, and you'll also be exhibiting alongside other people who are pricing themselves decently as well, because it's very hard to sell artwork if somebody next to you is selling things as underpricing and selling things too cheaply. So joining these better societies and exhibiting and selling, and having a stall alongside people that are also selling very high quality, highly priced work will enable you to access those better buyers. So a buyer coming into one of these high-end craft fairs is going to instantly expect that everything on show is going to be very, very good quality, and they're going to just expect to pay a higher price for it. So tip number 8 is to show the process. So what I mean by this is I often get people say to me, well, if people won't pay the money for my work and they have no idea how long it took me to make it, they have no idea the expense of the materials involved, how many years it took me to get to this level of skill. They just don't know what's involved in creating this work. If only they knew, they might pay more. Well, it's true, they don't know, and they would pay more if they did know. So what you need to do is to show them the process of you making the artwork. Now, there are many different ways of doing this. If you're actually in an exhibition, if you're stewarding an exhibition that you're in, or if you're at a craft fair, then the most natural thing to do is to demonstrate your work and to show people the process and to talk about it. Now, I make lino prints, for example. Now, people don't understand that you have to do these over several days, that each time I cut a layer of lino away and print another layer on that print, it has to then dry, to walk to the print workshop, come home again, let it dry, go back. They don't understand the amount of time these things make, and it's up to you to explain it to them and to show them. Another good way of doing this is by putting up on your social media, to put videos of the process up. Now, of all the posts that I put on my social media, the ones that have the most engagement are whereby I show people a painting step by step. Now, it can be counterintuitive to this, because paintings don't always look very good and drawings don't always look very good right at the beginning. But go with it. I can tell you, people are absolutely fascinated by seeing the process of you making your artwork. And if you explain to them, this is how I do it, if you show them a video, show them a series of pictures of you producing the artwork, and if you explain in the text how long it takes you, how much the materials cost, how many years it took you to get to this level of skill, they'll be far more likely to part with their money, because they understand the value of the thing that they are buying. So don't leave it up to them. It's up to you to show them the value of what they're buying. Now, tip number 9 is to offer a range of prices. It's very easy for me to stand here and say, well, put your prices up, and then, well, now you haven't got any buyers. So the answer to this is that you shouldn't be selling your originals really, really cheaply. You need to keep those at a high price, but that doesn't mean that you can't sell a selection of things. So when you're in an art exhibition, you want to have something for everyone. So, there will be people that come in that can't afford those high prices on your original paintings or on your big pieces of craft. That doesn't mean that you should discount those pieces. What it means is that you should sell other things that are at a lower price point. So you could consider selling greetings cards of your work. You could consider, a whole range of merchandise, from t-shirts to mugs. You could get your artwork, assuming it's your original artwork, you own the copyright, you could get it printed on anything at all. You could make calendars. Limited edition prints is a really good one. I sell far more prints than originals, because you have to understand that, if you go to an exhibition and you only display a board full of really expensive originals, you may not make a sale. The answer is not to sell cheaper. The answer is to give people other things that they can buy if they can't afford the large pieces. Now, tip number 10 is all about presentation, and those buyers with more money are more discerning. They expect everything to look immaculate. That's not only the artwork, That's the framing, that's the packaging, that's the presentation, that's the labels, that's the social media posts, that's the photographs, that's the spelling and the grammar. Everything must look perfect. If there's any area that you are not good at, then get yourself someone to help you with those things, because buyers with money, they expect a certain standard for when they buy, and they know how things are supposed to be presented. People collect limited edition prints, for instance, giclée prints. They know how they're supposed to be signed. They know if they're supposed to be signed in pen or pencil. They know what sort of gap, if any, is supposed to be left between the mound and the painting. If you're in America, that's a mat. So the buyers, they understand how this stuff works, and they know how things should look, and they know the correct way of presentation and the correct framing. If you don't know what you're doing and you're putting stuff out there that's not displayed correctly or just looks shabby, you're going to find that those buyers won't touch it with a barge pole. They'll be nowhere near it. So you really, really need to take a good account of your presentation. So do let me know in the comments if you have any anecdotes, if you have any stories to tell about selling your own artwork. It's always useful to look at other people's experiences, isn't it? Or if you have any specific questions about pricing your artwork. I'm going to be doing lots more videos on pricing artwork soon, so do subscribe to the channel. Please like and share this video, and you can watch another one of my videos right now.